Welcome everyone to the Socket podcast and my guest, Patti Minglin, making her third appearance on the Socket podcast. Apparently I can't talk today. I've been running around with my head off. So
I'm like the Alec Baldwin of Saturday Night Live. Like I just keep coming back as the guest.
what are we going to make you talk about now? What's going on in the world?
Right.
Well, it's a big compliment because it's partially a compliment and partially who am I going to have on this week? I'm like, oh, Patty will do it. Let's talk about something. Patty will be
I get it.
up for
I'll
talking
take
about
it.
something fun. Um, so as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about with you, part of it comes from some of the things I've been seeing online with your business, Go Girl Communications, and the fact that within the last, would you say 6 months, you've brought on two part-time people that are working with you,
Yes,
right? Is that
correct.
6 months? Erica's been on for
I would, yeah, maybe 5.
okay.
It hasn't
So
been very long.
So, our businesses are in slightly different phases. And I know that you and I have had conversations before about you saying, I really feel like I need to hire someone, but it's scary to bring someone else on, have a financial obligation to them. And then once they come on, you got to figure out what the hell they're going to do for you and how you're going to pass down and delegate some of the stuff
Yes.
that needs to come off your plate for you to level up and get to that next level in business.
Yeah. Oh, I think that last thing is huge. What are you going to have them do?
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, that was a big struggle for me. Well,
So
all that was a big struggle.
what
I'm
got
not
you
gonna
to
act.
the point where you're like, all right, I've got to bring someone on? How did you get to that decision?
Um, I was failing miserably. No, I just felt like, and it's a good thing. And again, I don't think this is even just a professional thing. This could be happening in your personal life. Things just
For
start
sure.
happening really, really fast, and I couldn't quite get myself to keep up with it. I just couldn't keep up, and I was noticing little tiny things slipping away. And then I think the biggest thing is I was dreading the work. Like I would wake up every day and be like,
Mm,
oh gosh, I have to do invoices, or I've got to, there would always be a part, or, oh, I got to organize my week. I hate organizing my week. I don't know how to do this right.
right.
And so I was like, something's got to give. Either I have to make a decision that if I want to grow my company,
Yep.
then I have to find out how to do that. I've got to delegate, and I have to do it. I have to hire somebody that can help me do it and do things better than
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I put this on my Facebook page last week, and when I first became my first time manager, I was a department head at a newspaper, and I was so excited. And little Terre Haute, Indiana, and I was super fortunate that I had this amazing boss. His name was Jack Meany. He was the publisher, and he just always gave me these little nuggets of things that at the time I didn't probably appreciate them as much as I do now. But he always said, when I first became a department head, he said, your first rule is to always surround yourself with smart people. You always need people who are strong in the areas where you are weak.
Yep.
And I that was my philosophy going into how I hired people.
Yeah.
Is I want to hire people that can do what I can't do, like organized processes. That was for me. That was a huge. I
Yeah.
just need somebody to streamline my processes and make sure that clients are kept up to date on things, that things aren't slipping through the cracks. And fortunately for me, I was friends with Erica, she's organized to the, I can't even describe it.
Well, she's
Um,
my Allison, right? My practice
yes.
manager and
Oh,
account manager for the branch. It's like I just don't know what I would do without her. I call her my boss. I'm like, boss, what do you need me to? I walk in and
right.
the practice, like everything's organized. All my patient paperwork, is out in the little binders. And hey, you've got this person next, and then you're doing this. And it's like we have our own little language. Someone was listening to us the other day. I think it was Caitlin, I just hired on full time. She just graduated from college, and she was like, you guys don't even finish sentences. You just talk in this little like shorthand. Well, we've been sitting next to each other for 10 years. So
Right, right. So you can. And
yeah.
I think that that's it. Like, I think when you get to that point where you realize either I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't do what I really want to do am doing it like this. Like I've got to make that. And I was terrified. And you know that. Like I was terrified. I'm always terrified of the money. I'm always terrified of the responsibility. And you just I'm always terrified. And you were the one that actually said to me that when you think of hiring people, you always hire them 2 months before you think you really can afford them because you really can afford them. And you're going to be amazed at how better your business is
Yeah.
once they're on board. I, within weeks of Erica working with me, it was like a whole new world. And I just was like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Why didn't
What
I do this a year ago?
Why
Right.
didn't I do
You
this a
know?
year ago? And
Yeah.
and then she's the one when I said, you know what, we need a social media strategist. Like I need somebody that like lives and breathes it and understands every nuance of it.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, I know somebody that I kind of know, but I don't like that. And she introduced, and then Courtney came on board, and it was like, oh my gosh, like where have you
You're like,
people
why
been
was
my
I
whole life?
struggling to do this so much?
Why was I?
We created this year is the year of kind of going through every system of my practice and like where do we need to improve and what could we add, what services could we add, do I need other people, other employees that are going to do those services, or can I our current doctor, staff, team, therapists do it? And so it has been a little bit painstaking on my part because there's no one I can delegate this part to. And I'm
Right.
just going through like, all right, our new patient paperwork, what does that look like? Do we need to change it? Right now we have an adult one and we have a pediatric one. But if you're 7 years old, you kind of get the adult one and there could be another child one, right? So we're
Hmm.
working to create that. And like I said, I brought on Caitlin full time. She's worked for me for like 6 years. And I look at, she's filling 40 hours a week. And I'm like, how did any of that stuff get done? And well, some of it just didn't, you know?
That's the reality. Some of it just didn't get done.
Mhm.
And look how much better you are because it is getting done. Like,
And
I,
but it is scary, right? It's
yeah.
right now I'm taking over the patients of another chiropractor that's been in town for 25 years. So her patients are coming over slowly to our practice. I have one chiropractor that left because she had a baby and has to be closer to her parents. So she's moving, bringing on a new chiropractor. We have a chiropractic intern that's starting. Caitlin is brand new full time. We're going to do a build out for 2 new rooms in the office because we're running out of rooms. We have a new massage therapist that's on that used to work for me that does lymphatic drainage massage. So we're creating Naperville Lymphatics, which is a new division of advanced health. And then Jason and I are going to be starting the branch home services soon. And I like last night, I woke up, I was like, oh, what have I done?
Hey, you're sort of giving me a little anxiety.
Giving me anxiety. I haven't got my period in a week and I am not pregnant. I'm like, I think I'm just
Is
stressed out.
that, that's a whole other podcast
I
episode.
know. Well,
Kathy's
maybe I'm
pregnant.
going through menopause. I don't know. But I'm like, I keep going. I'm like, where is my period? Where? Jason's like, do we ever have a conversation? I'm like, no, where would I have had time?
Right. Right.
So,
It's gotta be, oh my gosh, isn't it crazy? Well, and that's just it. That's where I think life just starts going. It gets fast, and it's like, okay, well, let's take off some of these layers.
right.
And it is hard because you think that, like for me, it was always a money thing. And I think a little bit of a pride thing. I think
Mhm.
that why can't I figure this out?
Right.
Like I should know how to do this and I should be able to do this well instead of let other people do what they do really, really well.
Yeah.
That last part in the very beginning when you said let them know what to do,
Yeah.
oh, that was really big for me. Like I needed, and fortunately for me, I knew Erica well enough that I could just pretty much open it up and say, look, this is a disaster and I need you to fix it.
Well, I will show you, and of course, you'll be able to see this on video. This was Caitlin's wrap up email for the week. And in the middle of it, it says, when you're at the practice, I just don't have time to ask you these questions. And I have a million questions. She's been on for a month and she is a freaking go getter. She's like, oh, you want me to start Snapchat? What about Twitter? What do you want to do for Socket? I think we should be doing this for Socket every day. What about the branch? I'm sorry, I probably should be helping out more, but I have so much going on. So she like detailed out everything. And I was like, all right, well, now I need to spend time with you, right? Sometimes my head gets spinning so much because I have so many things going on at the same time. And sometimes I need to slow down and make sure I am connecting one-on-one with my team and realizing when they need my time and energy. And
Mhm.
so I kind of always tell them, if like you think I'm ignoring you or you think I'm not giving you, just come to me and say, I need some time from you. And so I could read between the lines. I read her email yesterday. I'm like, I looked at Jason. I'm like, yeah, I need to have lunch with her. So we had lunch together. We went through all these parts. She got the answers to her questions. And I learned that sometimes I come off as I'm too busy to talk to people. And it's just not the case. It's just
Oh,
when I'm in the practice,
yes.
busy, you know?
Right.
So I need to be
Right.
a little more proactive about reaching out to my staff. I took Allison to lunch last week. I do a doctor's meeting every other week with the doctors and we go over patient care of new patients, make sure, we're all on the same page. And is there any other resources we need to get our patients?
Right.
But I think what I'm going to do is start just taking employees out to lunch one at a time to make sure they're getting direct one-on-one time. So that's just a recommendation I have as you continue to grow too. And sometimes it just life gets so busy and all of a sudden you realize it's been 4 weeks and you haven't really had those one-on-one times.
Right. I feel like that even with my family. Like I feel like when we're in the heat, not now because we've been quarantined together, but like especially when lacrosse season would start and my son is off in his world doing kind of his thing and my husband's working and I'm working and it's like we could go days
Yeah.
without really checking in other than the basics like homework check-ins or
Yeah.
dinner check-in like quick and so I've always made dinner time like if you do not have practice you are here for dinner and
Yep.
that is a non-negotiable during the week. During the weekends it's more, but it's simply because I feel like we need that time to sit down and face to face and have real conversations and not be distracted by the work project that needs to be done or
Yep.
the homework or phones or TVs or the myriad of things that take us away from
No, it's
being
so
in
true.
the moment. I think it gets too much. And that's, I think, as you grow a company, you get more people. That's the big myth about delegating. Delegating doesn't mean you just get it off your plate and you're done with it. Like delegating, like that's awesome. Like let's try to do that. But it's like preparing for that. For our social media stuff we do for clients, there's a part of it that I do before my social media person can do it. If I don't give her the information,
Yep.
she can't do her job. And that's the same thing with Erica. If I don't get certain things to her, she can't do her job. And so I've had to really get very specific about my time and like how
Mhm.
do I use it to make sure everybody's getting what they need when they need it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
like in the
feeling it
beginning,
still.
sometimes it takes you way more time to get them up and running, right?
Hmm.
Caitlin, when she first came on, sent me a list of like 19 things she needed passwords for. Now, Allison has a lot
Yeah,
of it, but she didn't have all of it. And passwords are like my nemesis. I'm like, especially
I'm with
bank
you.
related passwords, right? Like my accountant just sent me files on email and I go to log on and it's not the right password because somewhere in the middle of the PPP craziness, I changed my password because I couldn't figure it out. And then I didn't save it in my phone where I normally save it. Now I got to change it again. And now I'm like, oh. So I'm like looking up 19 paths because there's so many. There's MailChimp, there's Linktree, there's Instagram for
God,
three
there's
businesses,
so
there's
many.
Facebook for three businesses, there's our website backend passwords. I mean, it goes on and on. I'm like, oh, and I know there's a program that gives like magical passwords to you.
There is. Or there's like, you just have to remember one, but it remembers like all of yours or something.
Yeah.
That's great. And I should look that up.
And you know what? I'm just
Whoever's
going to
listening,
complain.
send me a link.
Right. I would have nothing to complain about if I had that because then I wouldn't complain about passwords. So
No. Right, that's something you could delegate to,
I,
like, that is something you could get off your plate. I
I know.
know, I
Well,
that was one of the first things Erica did too, it's like, "Okay, here is a list of all the passwords I need," and some of them were like, "Oh, yeah," and then some of them were like, "Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
right.
I'm gonna give you, like, 3 passwords to try on this, I
Right.
don't know."
Well, and like we were talking about for a second before we started taping, this delegation is not just for moms that are working or own their own businesses, right? I look at some of my friends that are stay at home moms with young children. And as much as some people look at me like, how do you get everything done? I don't know. I sleep through the night for the most part because I don't have,
Right.
2-year old calling into my bed or a newborn or, that phase of early parenting. uh,
Ugh,
and stay-at-home moms.
so hard.
I mean, hats off to these women that manage a household and dinners and children and e-learning and especially this past year, right?
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so I think, for someone like that, and of course, everyone has different socioeconomic levels and their ability to outsource or delegate anything. It's different depending on where you're at. But if you're spending couple $3 on Starbucks coffee a couple of times a week, you could shift some of that money to doing something like hiring a housekeeper 1 day a month, right? You and I both enjoy this amazing magical service, right? Do you remember the first time you came home and
Yes.
your house was clean?
Yes, and it was magical. I still think that
Yeah.
every time I come home, and I get the same feeling like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this house is clean." But I think, like, especially when you're talking about the moms that are home, and you think that you have to do all of it all the time. Like, you think that you have to be that everybody else is doing all the dinners. I mean, ordering food, like, if you just order the meal kits, they have so many of them now. Like, maybe you could just do that even one night a week just to
Yep.
get that off your plate
Yep.
because you're at home with these children and your focus is on them. Let something else go. It's okay. Give it to somebody else to take care of that if you can, and figure out a way to maybe do it. Like you said, you don't have a housekeeper live with you every day. I'm dreaming for
Everyone
that day.
needs like an Alice, right?
Oh gosh, I totally need an Alice or the robot from the Jetsons. I really want her. I can't remember
What was her
her
name?
name. I don't remember, but she was amazing.
Yeah.
That was the daughter was Judy.
Someone just posted about her for some reason, but anyway.
Well, because somebody should be doing maybe it's Rosie. I think it's
Ooh, yeah, yeah,
Rosie.
yeah. I think it is. I think it is.
So I need one of those, but you
Yeah,
don't have to, like, just one day a month. If you had somebody come and clean your house or just clean big rooms of your house, maybe it's not even the whole thing, just to
no,
get a
right?
good deep cleaning done, and then you can mess with the rest of it because it's
Even the
it's
kitchen,
overwhelming.
it's like, I mean,
Yeah,
think
and
about
bathrooms.
yeah, the stove, I mean, it's all clean, right? Come home and like 2 days later,
Gosh.
it looks like a bomb went off on it. I don't We're
It
very
really
messy cookers, I guess. I don't know. I made couscous the other day and everyone was kind of getting their plate. And Jason literally, love him, takes the couscous. It's all over the stovetop. I'm like,
which is so tiny.
what
Like,
did you do? I was like, listen, I'll clean up some of this stuff, but you're doing that. We're not leaving a quarter of a cup of couscous laying on
oh my
on the
gosh.
oven surface. Oh my God, it was
That's
crazy.
how I felt about my bathrooms, especially when my kids were little, and I have 2 of my 3 are boys, and the kids' bathroom was like the gross it was like going into a gas station bathroom some week. I'd be like, "What has happened in here?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?" Because this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And the thought of having to do that sometimes is overwhelming when you've got all these other things to do. And what if somebody just cleaned your bathrooms? Like, what if somebody came and cleaned your kitchen and your bathrooms?
Right.
Oh
Well,
my
and I think about,
gosh.
and I know I feel I've talked about this before, but let's say you can't afford that. But you have kids and you have friends that have kids, do like a babysitting swap, right? If you're in partnership with someone, make sure that you're taking a breather. I had I think it was my cousin that told me that one of her friends, the husband and wife, um, every other week it's their week, so it's Saturday morning from 9 to 12 or 9 to 1 or something like that. And if it's the wife's week off, she can do whatever she wants. She can lay in bed, she can go to the gym, she can go out with a friend, she can read a book. And the husband actually took the kids out of the house, like removed them.
Oh, key.
And then
Key.
the next week, the Saturday, the wife would take them out of the house, and the husband could do whatever he wanted. or
Love
whatever
that.
partnership you're in, right? So I just thought that was genius. And I'm thinking, how many marriages would that save? You
Oh
know,
gosh, yeah.
you honestly had at least twice a week or twice a month where you knew you had 4 hour chunk of time all to yourself to do whatever you wanted without any guilt or any, oh, I've got to watch the kids or something, and committed to that. Oh, I think that would make such a difference for so many people.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I think the key to that is that communication, saying, this is my week, this is your week,
Yep.
this is what we've got. Like I think that with business too, is if you have to communicate what your expectations are.
Yep.
And if you communicate them well, then gosh, yeah, you've got that. Again, no guilt. You're
Yep.
not you're not panicking at the end like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot tomorrow was my day." No.
Right.
Like you've got it all planned out, and what a little tiny relief. We used to do that with our neighbors that lived next door when our kids were little. The boys were my oldest boy and her son were the same age and the girls were the same age. And so
Mm,
we used to swap kids on Saturdays. And Saturday afternoons, sometimes I would have the boys, which was super easy because they would be like down in the basement destroying something,
for
like
sure.
and the girls would play bar. Like you would have either whichever group you had, you got this really great time because you only had two kids and they were playing together nicely. They weren't related. They were friends. And
Exactly.
I loved those moments because it just was like such a relief to not have to entertain or try to clean around entertaining. They were good. They were all
Yeah.
set and I could take care of that.
Nick has a good friend of his, and his friend has a little brother who's a couple years younger. And every once in a while, I'll reach out to the mom, like, "Hey, Nick," before Nick could really had a phone and all this stuff to communicate. I was like, "Hey, Nick wants to see if Matt wants to come over, and you know what? If Anthony wants to come over too, I'm fine with it." And the mom be like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, I understand. My boys were close enough that when someone would take both of them, it made such a big difference
Oh,
in my world as opposed to just taking
yes.
one of them when they're, younger." So I'm
Right.
like, yeah, we're cool with it, right? More the merrier. Why don't you and your husband go out for dinner or something? Yeah.
Right. Just to, and that's the other thing. Like, if, we talk about leveling up, whether it's business or personal, you got to take care of yourself. I mean, you talk about that all the time. Like, that's the whole foundation. And use that time to take a nap. Like,
Mhm.
just for some moms, just getting a long hot shower without anyone pounding on your bathroom door is probably heavenly. But if you can get some of those things, whether it's house cleaning or making dinner or having someone watch your kids for a little bit, but use that time to do something that's going to make you feel better
Yeah.
about yourself and about what you want to do. Like, what is it you personally are trying to do? Is it, those I have so many people right now that are doing like 100-day workout challenges or 80 day. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are the best. Like, you're the greatest. I don't know why I'm friends with you guys, but you're so good. But like, maybe that's it. Maybe you're trying to get 5 miles in every day to meet some challenge, and that's going to make you feel better about yourself, and it's going to get you closer to whatever your goal is.
Mhm.
Do it. Just do it, and go ahead and do it. Like, if you think you can't, just do it. I feel like
And
we
carve
spend
out
so
that
much time.
time. Carve
Carve
out.
it out
Yeah.
and figure out, like you said, if money is an issue, figure out how you can still do it. Like,
Yep.
just sit down and really put thought into it. How could I do this? Okay, I know that maybe I can get Susan to take the kids every other morning for a couple of hours so I can go run.
Yeah.
Or maybe I can borrow somebody's jogging stroller and I can run with the kid. Like,
Right.
whatever it is. I always found that my problem with delegating has been the crazy voices in my head of excuses of why you can't do this. Oh,
Mm.
you don't have that. And I'm looking at social media, which doesn't help. You're like, oh, well, I would love to go cross country skiing every day, but I can't do that. Well, no, I can't go cross country skiing every day, but I could do something. What can I do? And
Yeah.
let me look at it and really think about it in terms of, if I want to get here, what do I have to do now to
Yep.
get there?
Yep. And I'd say that, in many of those decision making processes, you do have to take a little bit of a leap of faith, right? I know some moms
Yeah.
that they feel really anxious about leaving their kids with anyone other than themselves.
Yep.
And I have seen some in my practice where the kids are fourth, fifth grade, and they've never been left with anyone. And the mom doesn't, she's like, I don't go out, I don't do anything. And I just am not a big fan of that. I think, obviously you need to have trustworthy people. And if you just moved into town, right, that's really hard to find that
Right.
thing. But it takes a leap of faith to trust someone with something that you care about. With your
Uh,
kids, with parts of your business, right? Like you said with Erica, you already knew her. You knew her for years before you hired her. So you didn't have to go through this process of, do I trust you or not? Right?
right.
Can I hand over my 19 passwords without, you blowing up my social
Right.
media in a
Oh, for
negative way,
sure.
right? So it is nice. I know as I've grown the practice, and even brought on more and more people for the branch, it's been people that I've known or have been a direct referral from someone that has known that person for quite a long time, even working with them. So,
Right.
I mean, I think about everyone in my practice right now, and I can think back to what the connection was. Either again, whether I knew them long term, or so and so, who is one of our patients and friends, has a niece who's a massage therapist, right? And you have that nice connection that provides those safety measures to some degree of not having to worry that you're sharing stuff you shouldn't with someone that you shouldn't.
Well, and I think tapping into that network is super important because sometimes we think we don't know anybody.
Yep.
And then once we say it out loud to our group of trusted friends, we're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, look who we've got. Like look at
Right.
my reason. And that was Erica. I actually sent a note to our little group of our little text group and said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this.
Right.
And I just am looking for somebody that can do this. And Erica texted me back and said, that's
It's
me.
like, I think I might be
I
interested. I was like,
go, wait,
that's
what?
awesome.
I think because sometimes, again, we forget we have these blocks in our heads of why we can't do something, and we
Mhm.
forget, say it out loud. Like
Yeah.
the next time you're with all of your girlfriends and just say, gosh, I would love for somebody to come and clean my house once a month.
Yeah.
And you
That
would be amazed.
That's what happened with Dr. Pat. I had a meeting with my staff. I had been on vacation and I had a panic attack in Mexico because no one was covering my practice. It was just me as a chiropractor, and I didn't have any help for the branch as an admin. And so I couldn't get away from my phone. The practice was fine, but I was like, all right, no, none of our patients are being seen. And then I'm getting all these messages about problems that were going on in our resell group. And I don't know. My body just kind of freaked out because I was trying to relax and I couldn't, and that was
Mm,
just upsetting to me. So I came home, had a meeting with my staff, and I was like, I'm going to be looking for someone to help me admin the branch, which Lindsay Chan then came on. But I said, I'm also looking for a unicorn. I'm like, I would like an awesome chiropractor that has good experience, that wants to work 3 or 4 shifts a week. And I said, I don't know where I'm going to find this person, but that's what I'm going to be looking for. And 3 days later, one of my massage therapists was like, I was working at my other job with Dr. Pat, and he said he was thinking about renting out his office, half of his office, to a podiatrist or some other type of doctor. And that he was thinking about kind of downsizing his office and maybe picking up shifts somewhere. And I was like,
and there you
that's
go.
that's what I need, And Dr. Pat and I had I don't know, an hour and a half long meeting where we really talked about being divorced and co-parenting and raising children. And then at the end, I'm like, so I got a job. Do you want it? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to pay you. He's like, all right, we'll figure it out. And that was it. That was our big job interview. So
Well, but that's just it. And again, it goes back to, you have to be clear of what you're looking for. Like,
for
what is it? Where are your pain points? And that's what I would
yeah,
tell anyone if they're considering this. Sit down and think, where are my pain points?
yep,
Where do I feel like this is causing me anxiety while I'm on vacation?
yep,
This is keeping me from being present at the family dinner table. This is, I'm not sleeping. That
yep,
was me. Like, I wasn't sleeping because I was so worried about things falling through the cracks. And
yeah,
I was like, I have to get some sleep.
yep,
So, like, be clear about, where is it? Where are my pain points? Because then what happens, which is so great, is that we get to this place where you start to figure out, like, now that I have people on board,
Mhm.
They're doing things that I don't have to do, which is like magic to me every day. I get to really think about, okay, well, what do I need to do now to scale a business? And I am in, and not everybody wants to scale their business. So I get that. But like for me, I do. And so I now get to see where do I fit the best? Now that I know that other people can do all these other
Yeah,
things, where is it that where's my time best spent? And how I just
absolutely.
listened to this podcast of this guy and it made me sad. I can't remember the guy, I can't remember the podcast. So I have no resources for anyone. But it was this guy and he built this company. He started a company because it was something he loved and he was doing what he loved. And as the company grew, he understood it was growing, but he still just wanted to keep doing what he loved, the part that he loved. And the part he was really good at, that people would tell him you're really good at it. But he waited too long.
Mm,
And then the company started to plateau and then go down because he wasn't managing it to scale.
yep.
And he didn't bring anybody in to do that. And so by the time he realized he should have shifted his focus a little, he should have been like, okay, my time's really spent here if I want to grow.
Yep.
He had to bring in a CEO. So here's this guy that owns the company who is now the VP of sales. He still owns the company, but he had to bring in a CEO. And I thought, I want to bring in a CEO because that would make me, and he's fine. Like this wasn't even a sad story. It was a really good one. But I just thought, spending that time to pay attention to where is my time best spent. That goes for being a busy mom whose kids are keeping you up at night. Like at the end of the day, where's your time best spent? Is it best spent doing laundry?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe not. Maybe it's spent just sitting on the floor with Legos. And
Yeah.
maybe that really is the very best
Yeah.
time that you could spend. So how can you get rid of that other stuff?
For sure.
Like if your time is
There
supposed
could
to
be
be
a
here.
neighborhood teenager that wants to make $10 an hour that you can pay $30 to do 3 loads of laundry, right? I mean, you just again, you
Right.
just never know. There's so many options out there, and if you open up your mind to I'm not okay right now. I have too much on my plate. Again, whether it's a business issue or it's personal issue or it's both, right? And saying how can I brainstorm taking some of this off my plate, right? Is there something I need to ask my kids to help with or my spouse or partner to help with? Is it something I
Yes.
need to ask an employee to help me with or bring someone else on? And once you do that and you take some of these things off your plate, your brain and your energy opens up.
Oh,
And, I mean, you and I are both creative people. If we're bogged down with spreadsheets and I got to figure out my invoices for the thought process, I was going to send out invoices to anyone. I just can't, that's not my forte. I'm not good at it. And it takes me 3 times as long as Allison to do it.
right. That's the other thing. It takes you longer. Well, and somebody else loves that. That's what the
Yeah.
other thing I've noticed is that both Erica and Courtney, they love what they do. And
Yeah.
so it's like by me letting go, it lets them do something great.
Yep.
And that gives them the opportunity to really live into stuff that they love to do and they can do it so much quicker.
Yeah.
And I
You
can't I
know,
can't remember what it was for social media, and it would have taken me an afternoon to figure out how to redo this image. It's like
right.
Courtney did it in like 5 minutes. Is this what you're talking about? I'm like, oh yeah,
Seriously. We made these travel cards for our patients because, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I had 5 employees. I have 11 now. So there's a lot more touch points that the patient might have, and just an inner office communication of what was done. Someone might come in and be like, "Oh, I had a headache this weekend." Well, then the doctor or the therapist that sees them first can mark that down. So then the next person that might see them for an adjustment or some therapy is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear you had a headache," because we don't have to
yeah.
like run across the hall to say, "Hey, just so you know, she had," it's right there. But anyway, I had it all. I drew it out on paper, exactly what I wanted. And I said to Jason, I said, "Hey, can you help me in Word to format this?" And he's really good at IT stuff, but creating something on Word is not necessarily where his strength is. And we get about 7 minutes into this. Nothing has happened. Um,
You're
and
still looking at the
yeah,
blank piece of word paper.
and he looks at me, he goes, "Don't you think that either Allison or Caitlin could do this in like 10 minutes?" So I took a screenshot of my picture that I drew on paper. And Caitlin got it first, and she did it in like 10 minutes. And it
Right.
would have taken me 3 hours, and it still wouldn't have been right. Someone still would have had
Right.
to do it.
Somebody would have still been giving me feedback on it and been like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
No, that's so true. But like you said, the hard part is just doing it.
I
It's
know.
just
Making
saying,
a decision.
look, and I think if you start from the place of, okay, what's my goal here, whatever it is, and then what do I do really, really well? Where is my time best spent right now? And right now in this life stage, don't like try to plan out 5 years. Like I am big on my life stage right now. I have one child left at home. He graduates this summer. So, mine is a totally different life stage than if I had all three little ones at home. Like
Absolutely.
where would my time have been best spent?
Yeah.
And I actually wish I would have thought this through when I was working for before I had my own company, when I was just a working mom, when I was just a working mom. But when I was working for other companies, I wish I would have gone into positions before I said yes. And I'm super fortunate. I always worked for great, flexible bosses. But I wish I would have been more thoughtful before the yes. And I would have said, look, what's really important to me is that I have to be home for dinner with my kids at night. I
Yep.
will come in super early. Like my
Yep.
husband will take the shift of getting them to school, but I absolutely have to say no to all evening things because
Yep.
I need to be home for dinner. And it's amazing if you say those things out loud. Again, if you just communicate what you need,
Yeah.
people will make it happen for you.
Yeah. Well,
And
and Dr. Christine, who's coming on the practice, she has 3 young kids. Her husband has corporate job, and he is gone a lot of the week for long, long hours, or traveling when traveling's allowed. But um, you know, Saturday morning is a really busy time at our office, and she's like, I can do one a month. Okay, and I know that's probably more than she wants to do. So she's giving me, she's throwing me a bone,
right,
and she's like, and I need to be home for my kids to put them to bed. And you know what? I I was like, all right, I respect that, right? I like you've created a boundary for yourself that is where your heart is, right? These things are
right.
important to me as a mom. And so I'm gonna right up front let you know these are the things I can do and these are the things I can't do. Um,
Gosh, that's so freeing when you do that.
well, and I think when you as an employee, when you are then respected by your boss saying okay, and then it's like, ooh, hey, it's getting late, like you need to get out of here, right? Like when she's
Oh,
not trying to
yes.
push the limit and take every ounce of everything out of someone, and you can allow that person to be the person they need to be in multiple areas of their lives, man, I mean, it's just such a good give and take, and you get more out of, not that we employ people to get more out of them, but you do. They employees and staff members work harder when they know you love them and respect them and care about them,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and it comes back at you, I look at our team, and 4 times a week a patient says, wow, you have such a great team. I'm like, I know, I'm so blessed, right? We're so fortunate to have people that get along, care about each other, support one another. um, it's awesome and heartwarming. And if I talked about it for 3 more minutes, I'd cry. So we'll stop talking.
It's true though, and you can't underestimate that. Like there's something, and for me, I was really fearful of hiring people. My company felt like my child, and
Yeah.
I was very nervous about somebody, how would they treat this child? Would they be able to do it the way I would do it? And yes, if you spend the time and you hire correctly, they do. They care about it just as much as you do. Nothing was greater. The best compliment we got was when my daughter called and said, "Hey, so you're not doing your social media for Go Girl anymore, right?" And I go, "Why?" She goes, "Because it feels so different." And she said, but at the same time, she goes, "It feels more like you.
Yeah.
It's just different." And I thought,
Just elevated.
that's perfect. That's perfect. It
Well,
feels like Go Girl, but it does. She knew that.
yeah, I
She
think I
knew.
I think I said the same thing to you. I was like, I don't know what
Yes.
you're doing, but I saw a shift in just the not necessarily the content, just the look of it, right?
The
The
look and
color,
the
the
feel, and
patterns, it just looked more
even the things
cohesive,
uh,
put together.
and even the things I do. Like Courtney comes back to me with, I need you to do a little video snippet on this.
Yeah.
This should be a video. And I would never think like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I'll do that. And then it makes it work. So I think if you pay attention to what you need, you hire right, uh, it just can be so great. You will be amazed at what you can accomplish.
No, that's just so true. So true. Well, I look forward to continuing to watch your growth because it's super
Thanks.
excited, right? I'm so proud of when my good friends, I know they're working hard and they're pushing past some fear to get to a level that they want to get to, but it's scary, right? It's like
It's
not
really
a
scary. And
joke, not a joke.
everybody needs a friend like Kathy Stubber. Like everybody needs a friend that lets you come to their dining room table and pretty much throw all their problems out of the table and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this." And
Oh,
they're still your friend when you leave.
of course, of course. Well, I will be, like you said, excited to kind of track what you're doing, and I'm always trying to give a little shout out or throw you in a story on Socket or something because I always the content you
Thanks.
put out is really great. So
Oh, thanks.
great job.
Thank you so much.
So, well, I hope you have actually. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
GoGirlCommunications.com. You can also just email me at Patty at GoGirlCommunications.com. Super long URL. And we're on Instagram, Go Girl. It's on Instagram, Facebook, and then I am personally on Twitter. So it's just
Ooh,
Patty Minglin on Twitter.
I've never been
I
really.
don't tweet very much.
No, I
I'm
know.
not a
It's
good. I'm
confusing.
not a good Twitter person. That's going to be my new thing. I'm going to try to be intentional about tweeting.
Yep. And if you want to get a hold of me, our website is simplysocket.com. And then we're on most of everything as Simply Socket. All right, everyone. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And I hope this conversation makes you think a little bit like, where do I need to level up in my life, in my business, my home life? What do I need to delegate to do that? What do I need to clear off my plate so I can go up? All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.